Imagine you are lying on a grassy field, bald on a clear summer night. You look up at the starry sky. At first, it is very beautiful. Twinkling specks of light, the Milky Way stretching across like a silver river, truly poetic. But then try a small experiment in perception. Try to imagine that you are not looking up, but you are looking down. The earth is no longer the solid floor beneath your back, but a giant sphere hanging suspended in space. And you, like a tiny ant, are clinging to the surface of that sphere, thanks to an invisible gravitational force. Below your back is billions of miles of free fall. In front of you is a pitch-black abyss endlessly deep, with no bottom, no ceiling, no walls surrounding it. How does that feel? A chill runs down your spine, a bit of dizziness, a contraction in your stomach. That is the fear of infinity. We often say we like freedom. We want more time, more space, more money. We want everything to be endless. But the ironic truth is, if infinity actually appeared at your doorstep and knocked, you would slam the door shut and hide under the bed. Why? Why does the idea of unlimited space, of unending time, make humans, creatures always craving immortality, feel so terrified? Today we will go into the epicenter of this fear. We will not use cliché religious consolations. We will look at it through the eyes of physics, of depth psychology, and of awakened vision. Look at how we live. Look at your room. Look at your work schedule. We have a strange obsession. We must fill everything. A blank wall makes us uncomfortable, so we hang pictures. A silence in a conversation makes us confused, so we say meaningless words about the weather. A free Sunday makes us panic, so we scroll through phones, watch movies, go shopping. Ancient Latin philosophers called this horror vacui, the fear of empty space. Why is empty space scary? Because space and infinity are twin brothers. Empty space has no shape. It has no limits. It has no name. And most importantly, you cannot control it. Humans, or more accurately, the ego of humans, are defined by limits. I am this, meaning I am not that. I am this body, meaning I end at my skin. I am a doctor, meaning I am not an engineer. Our identity is built on separation. We are like drawings colored inside bold black outlines. If that outline is erased, the color will spill out, merging into the white paper background. And for the ego, that merging is synonymous with death. Infinity is exactly what erases that outline. When you stand before the vast ocean or look into the immense universe, you feel small. That feeling of being small is essentially the feeling of the ego being threatened. It is screaming, I am dissolving, I am not important, I am losing control, And to reassure this fear, we build boxes. We build box houses to live in. We ride in box cars. We work in box offices. We package time into boxes called hours, minutes, seconds. We package life into boxes called past, future. We worship boxes because they are finite. They are safe. We know where the beginning is, where the end is. Inside that tight box, the ego feels like a king. But let modern science tell you a small secret, a secret that might make your ego feel insulted. Those boxes, they are not real. The solidity, the firmness you are clinging to, it is an optical illusion. Quantum physicists have discovered that if you magnify an atom to the size of a football stadium, the nucleus is only as small as a marble sitting in the center of the field. The electrons are as tiny as dust particles flying high in the stands. So what is the rest? The part lying between the nucleus and the electrons. It is empty space. 99.9999% of your body, your house, and even this earth is empty space. You are not a solid object walking in space. You are space playing the game of condensing itself a little bit at a few points. Alan Watts often used the metaphor that you are like a whirlpool in a river. The whirlpool has a clear shape. You can point at it and say, "This is a whirlpool." But what is that whirlpool made of? It is made of water. It is not separate from the river. If the river stops flowing, the whirlpool disappears. We fear infinity, but ironically, the essence composing us is exactly that infinity. We are like fish afraid of water, or birds afraid of the sky. This fear comes from a fundamental confusion in perception. We think infinity or emptiness is synonymous with nothingness in a negative sense, as destruction, as dark death. But in physics, vacuum is not empty. It is a quantum field seething with potential. It is where every particle of matter is born and dies. It is the womb of all things, not a grave. But our intellect, with the habit of analyzing and chopping up reality, cannot understand this. The intellect operates like a knife. It cuts the world into me and not me, inside and outside, life and death. And it trembles when facing what it cannot cut, that is, space. Let's switch to the psychological perspective. Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human soul, once warned about the danger when facing the unconscious. Our consciousness is like a small island floating on the immense ocean. That ocean is the unconscious. It contains everything: ancestral memories, primal instincts, dreams, madness, and also the source of divine creativity. We fear the external infinity universe because it reminds us of the internal infinity consciousness. When you meditate or when you are alone in silence for too long, you start hearing whispers from that ocean. Buried memories, forbidden desires, irrational fears. They start surfacing. You feel like you are about to go crazy. You feel your daily sane, logical ego is about to be drowned. That is the fear of psychical dissolution. We cling to our name, our title, our personal history, like a drowning person clinging to a wooden stake, because we fear if we let go, we will sink into that infinite chaos. But Jung also said that in the dark cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek. Infinity is not the enemy, it is the source. The anxiety you feel when facing infinity is essentially a form of compressed energy. Søren Kierkegaard called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. When you stand on a high mountain peak and look down, you get dizzy. Why? Not because you fear falling, but because a part of you wants to jump. A part of you craves to merge into that void, craves to fly. But your death-fearing ego pulled back, and the conflict between wanting to jump and fearing death creates the feeling of dizziness. We fear infinity because deep inside we know it is home, and we yearn to return there. But we fear that to return, we must pay the price with this small ego. Alan Watts often told an ancient Indian myth to explain this situation in a wonderful and humorous way. He called it God's game of hide and seek. Imagine you are God or the universe or Tao or source energy, whatever you call it. You have all time, all power, all joy. You are infinite. But, be honest, being alone forever in infinity is quite boring, isn't it? You know everything, you see everything, nothing surprising anymore. So what will you do? You will play a game. You will divide yourself into billions of small pieces. You will pretend to forget who you are. You will crawl into finite forms, humans, cats, trees, rocks. And the rule of the game is, you must forget very thoroughly. You must believe absolutely that you are a small, weak human afraid of death living in a strange universe. Why do that? So you can re-experience the joy of finding yourself. So you can feel the thrill, the fear, the love, the loss. Things that an infinite entity cannot feel without limiting itself. The fear of infinity you are feeling, that is exactly part of the game. You need to fear it, because if you don't fear it, if you remember immediately that, I am the universe, then the game ends. The game loses fun, like when you watch a horror movie. You must temporarily forget you are sitting safely in the cinema. You must believe the monster on the screen is real, then you will feel scared, your heart will beat fast. That very fear makes the movie vivid. You are here in this human form, playing the role of someone afraid of infinity, exactly to experience the drama of finiteness. But at some point in life, the game starts becoming too intense. You start feeling tired of pretending. You start feeling this human mask is too tight. That is when you start seeking the spiritual path. That is when you start becoming curious about the infinity you once feared. That is the sign showing the God inside you is starting to want to wake up. In the previous part, we stripped away the covering layer of fear, seeing it under the light of psychology and cosmology as a necessary dizziness of the game of existence. But knowing the cause is not enough. We need a new approach, a spiritual technology, to live with this infinity without being swallowed by it. Let's return to the image of the person falling freely in space I mentioned at the beginning. What is our first instinct when falling? It is to curl up, tense muscles, flail limbs to find a grip. That is exactly how we live our lives. We try to control the future. Others control our emotions. We build fortresses of security, insurance, savings accounts, reputation, religious dogmas. But here is the ironic truth. The more you try to control, the more you lose control. Try holding a handful of sand in your hand. If you open your palm, the sand lies still there. But if you clench your fist, the sand will flow through the fingers. The tighter you squeeze, the faster the sand flows. Life or infinity is just like sand. It is a fluid flow. You cannot package a river into a bucket and bring it home. When you do that, it is no longer a river, it is just a bucket of dead water. Alan Watts has a famous saying, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." Absolute security is a utopia. There is no fortress that is impregnable. There is no body that is immortal. Your trying to seek absolute security is like trying to make the sea surface completely flat. The more you try to flatten, the more waves you create. Liberation comes when you realize there is no grip at all. And the good news is you do not need a grip, because you are not the one falling. You are the space in which the falling is happening. Or, in other words, there is no bottom to hit. We cannot talk about the fear of infinity without talking about death. Death is the ultimate symbol of infinity, the dark door everyone fears stepping through. But look at death through the eyes of modern physics and philosophy. You fear death because you think it is cessation. You think it is like being locked in a dark room forever. But that is a logical mistake. To feel locked in darkness, you need to have an ego there to experience darkness. But death, by definition, is the absence of that ego. Epicurus, the ancient Greek philosopher, said very well, "When we exist, death is not present. When death is present, we do not exist. So why fear what we never meet?" But let's go deeper. Imagine before you were born. Where were you? What were you? You don't remember, right? But the state before birth and the state after death are identical. You have experienced billions of years of non-existence before being born, and it did not bother you at all. So, why are you afraid of returning to that state? From the perspective of Alan Watts and Eastern thought, death is not extinguishment. It is withdrawal, like ocean waves. When a wave crashes onto the shore and dissolves, it does not die. It withdraws back into the ocean to then rise again as another wave in another place. You are that wave. Death is just when the ocean inhales, and birth is when the ocean exhales. If you identify yourself with the wave, the finite ego, you will be afraid when seeing yourself dissolve into the sand. But if you realize you are water, the infinite essence dissolving or gathering makes no difference, does it? You are still water, wet, salty, and eternal. So how to live in this finite world with the mindset of infinity? How to go to work, pay bills, raise children without being swallowed by anxiety? The answer is live like a flow. In Taoism, this is called Wu Wei, not doing nothing but non-forcing action, like a surfer. He does not try to stop the wave. He also does not let the wave drown him. He rides the force of the wave to move. Don't try to live for the now. Sounds strange because everyone advises you to live for the present. But Alan Watts points out that you cannot not live in the present. The past is just memory trace in the present brain. The future is just imagination. Thought in the present brain. You always and forever can only be in the present. Trying to focus on the present only creates more tension. Relax. You are already there. You cannot jump out of now. Trust your organism. Your body knows how to breathe. Your heart knows how to beat your nervous system, knows how to react to danger without you having to command with consciousness. When facing uncertainty, infinity trust intuition. Intuition is the voice of the unconscious, the immense ocean of wisdom beneath the iceberg of consciousness. Life as music. We often view life as a journey with a destination. Go to school to get a job, go to work to get money, have money to retire, retire to wait for death. We always live for something coming, but life is actually more like music. The purpose of a piece of music is not to get to the last note. If so, the person playing fastest would be the best. The purpose of music is to dance while the music is playing. The meaning lies in every note, every melody, not in the ending. Don't live to achieve infinity. Dance with your finiteness right now. Finally, we must face a deepest feeling, loneliness. When you realize you are everything of the universe, you also realize that only you are here. God is alone. In English, the word alone is made of all one. Human loneliness is the feeling of being separated, but the solitude of the awakened one is wholeness. When you no longer fear infinity, you will see. Infinity is not a cold void, it is love, not sentimental, possessive love, but barrier-free connection. When the boundary between me and you dissolves, what remains is love. You fear infinity because you fear losing yourself, but when you dare to lose yourself, you find everything. My dear friend, you are standing on the edge of awareness. Below you is the abyss of uncertainty. Behind you are old illusions of safety that have started cracking. You can continue clinging, continue fearing, continue building defensive walls. That is your choice in this game. But if you feel the call from the abyss, the call of freedom, jump. Do not worry. There will be no bottom for you to hit. You will not fall down. You will fly up, because you are the sky. Thank you for taking this journey into the mind with me. Remember, fear is just the shadow of a paper tiger. Turn on the light.